Okay, let's unpack this. When we talk about thyroid health, specifically hypothyroidism, the conversation often jumps straight to medication.
Right. And understandably so. It's crucial for many people.
Absolutely. But what if there's like this whole other layer? Things we do every day, our diet, our habits, maybe even our environment that can really make a difference to how your thyroid functions.
hmm Working alongside medication or just enhancing overall well-being.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it's all about uncovering those practical, actionable things from our research. We're looking beyond just nutrients.
Although nutrients are key, of course.
For sure, but also digging into underlying stuff like gut health, immune balance, inflammation control, really trying to give you a more, well, holistic picture.
And what's really fascinating, I think, from the material we reviewed is just how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
Your thyroid isn't really operating in isolation, is it?
Not at all.
It's tied into your digestion, your immune system, even, your stress levels, and these seemingly small choices we make.
Like what kind of water you drink.
Yeah, exactly, things like that. They can create this ripple effect, hopefully a positive one, throughout your whole system, which ultimately supports your thyroid.
Okay, so those ripples, where do we start making them? Our findings suggest, maybe unsurprisingly, with what we eat. What are the key nutritional allies that really stood out in the research?
Absolutely. Food is fundamental here. The research really highlighted specific categories. We're talking essential fatty acids, vitamin D, amino acids, fiber, probiotics, and antioxidants.
Okay, a solid list. But are these just general good for you things, or is there a specific thyroid connection?
No, there's a very specific connection. They seem to actively work on disarming two major internal triggers that can mess with thyroid function:
Hmm.
high cortisol and high glucose levels.
Ah, okay. So it's not just eat healthy, it's how these nutrients are tackling those specific problems. Can you maybe elaborate on that a bit? How do they do that?
Sure. They basically team up against inflammation and immune system imbalances, which, as you know, are often linked very closely with hypothyroidism.
Right, especially with Hashimoto's.
Precisely. So things like essential fatty acids and antioxidants directly calm those inflammatory pathways. Vitamin D is crucial for modulating the immune system, super important in autoimmune conditions.
And amino acids.
Well, certain ones, like L-tyrosine, are literally the building blocks for thyroid hormones themselves. And then fiber and probiotics, they focus on rebuilding gut health.
Which is often a weak spot in autoimmune issues, right?
Exactly. It's about creating a better internal environment. So you're providing the building blocks and the things that help regulate the system.
That makes so much sense. It's a much deeper why. Okay, so if we translate those categories into actual food on our plate, what are some specifics? What should we be reaching for?
Okay, let's paint that picture. Generally, lots of beneficial vegetables and greens. That's a given. For fruits, focus on the lower glycemic index ones. Think berries, citrus fruits.
Good. And protein.
Prioritize what we call high biological value proteins. That means they've got all the essential amino acids your body needs. So eggs, fish, quality meats, liver even, gelatin, bone broth, fish broth. Those are all excellent.
Nice variety there. What about fats?
Definitely embrace healthy fats.
Hmm.
Olives, extra virgin olive oil, you often see it abbreviated, AOVE, avocado, nuts, seeds, coconut oil, and if you tolerate dairy, organic butter. All very helpful.
Okay, foundational stuff. And thinking back to gut health, I guess fermented foods fit in here too.
Yeah.
For the microbiota.
Yeah. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, pickles, they're great additions. And for drinks, organic teas, chicory, rooibos, chamomile are good choices. We'll circle back to coffee. There's some important points there.
Okay.
And don't forget algae and unrefined sea salt. They might seem small, but they can contribute.
You just mentioned sea salt and algae, which immediately brings iodine to mind. Our understanding is that it's absolutely fundamental for making thyroid hormones. What did the research say about iodine?
Iodine is, well, non-negotiable. It's the essential raw material. Your thyroid absolutely needs it. And yes, rich sources are sea fish, algae, unrefined sea salt, and even some fruits like guava or feijoa.
Okay.
However, and this is a really critical nuance.
Uh-oh. What's the catch? Because most people probably think thyroid problem and need more iodine.
That's the common assumption, yeah. But the sources we looked at stress real caution here, particularly if you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
Which is a super common cause of hypothyroidism.
Exactly. So while iodine is essential for some people with autoimmune thyroid conditions, Too much iodine can actually flare up the autoimmune attack and increase inflammation.
Wow. So it's not a simple more is better situation.
Definitely not. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
Finding the right balance, especially with Hashimoto's, is crucial and often needs careful guidance, probably from a healthcare provider. It really drives home the need for individual assessment.
Individual assessment, that really sums it up. It's not just a checklist. Okay, so we've talked about the allies, the yes list. What about the other side? The things that might be sabotaging our efforts. What does the research warn against?
Equally important, absolutely. Our findings flagged several things that can actively worsen hypothyroidism. They tend to mess with inflammation, hormones, or the immune system. Top of the list, maybe no surprise, sugar and artificial sweeteners.
The usual culprits. Sodas, candy.
Yep, sodas, candies, lots of processed snacks. They drive inflammation, mess with blood sugar. Just not helpful for the thyroid.
Makes sense. What else is on that list?
Gluten-containing grains, especially wheat, came up frequently. Also, high glycemic index fruits, the opposite of the berries and citrus we mentioned earlier.
Why those?
Again, potential for inflammation, and also issues around gut permeability or leaky gut, which ties back to immune function. Oh, and definitely trans fats and those refined vegetable oils.
Got it. Okay, now, soy. This one feels like a minefield. You hear so many different things. What did our sources indicate about soy and the thyroid?
Yeah, soy is complex. This is where getting specific really matters. The research points a finger at derivatives of white soy.
So like tofu, soy milk, those soy yogurts.
Exactly. Those contain compounds called goitrogens.
Goitrogens. Okay, I've heard that term. What do they actually do?
Well, they're not just vaguely bad. They specifically interfere with your thyroid's ability to take up iodine.
Ah, so they literally block that essential mineral we just talked about.
Pretty much. And if your thyroid can't get enough iodine, it can't make enough hormones.
Okay, that's clear. But is there any wiggle room? Is all soy off the table?
This is where the nuance comes in again. Fermented soy products, think miso, tamari.
Like soy sauce, but the traditional kind.
Right. The fermentation process seems to inactivate a lot of those goitrogens. So generally, they're considered okay as condiments, in small amounts.
Okay, that's good news for miso soup fans.
But there's another important caution. In cases where hypothyroidism is really pronounced or like resistant to treatment, the advice we saw leans towards maybe avoiding all soy, even the fermented kinds.
Right. Back to that personalized approach. Better safe than sorry in some cases.
Exactly.
Okay, what about another group that often gets flagged? Cruciferous vegetables. Broccoli, kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. People with hyperthyroidism were often told to avoid these completely. Is that still the thinking?
Yeah, that historical advice definitely existed, and it had a basis. These veggies contain something called isothiocyanates.
Which also interfere with iodine.
They can reduce iodine uptake, yes.
Yeah.
But more recent observations have really clarified this. The research we reviewed suggests they're really only potentially harmful under two specific conditions.
Okay, what are they?
One, if you already have an iodine deficiency, and two, if you're eating these vegetables raw in large amounts.
Ah, so it's not a blanket ban. That's huge news for broccoli lovers.
Exactly. It means for most people, you can generally keep enjoying these really nutritious vegetables. The key is moderation, making sure your iodine intake is adequate overall, and importantly, cooking them.
How does cooking help?
Cooking, steaming, boiling, sautéing, even putting them in soups or creams seems to significantly reduce those goitrogenic compounds.
Fantastic. So cook your kale, basically.
Basically, yeah. It just shows how dietary advice is rarely black and white, doesn't it? Context is everything.
Totally. Okay, so diet is clearly a massive piece of the puzzle, but this deep dive also showed that other things, like our daily routines, our environment, they also play a big role. What else came up? Let's maybe start with coffee and tea, always a hot topic.
Ah, yes. Good place to start. So in principle, stimulating drinks like coffee and tea are often okay, potentially even beneficial.
Beneficial? How so?
Well, hypothyroidism often slows metabolism, right? The caffeine can give it a little nudge and activating effect.
Okay, that makes sense, but there must be a but.
There is. If you find that caffeine makes you nervous, gives you insomnia, or affects your heart, then obviously it's better to switch to non-stimulating options, like chicory or maybe Tulsi tea.
And quality matters here too, I'm guessing.
Oh, massively. This is a really strong point in the research. Always aim for organic coffee and kef.
Why organic specifically?
Industrial farming uses herbicides and pesticides. These can contain toxins and heavy metals, which are really detrimental for thyroid health, especially for autoimmune conditions like Hashimoto's. They just add to the body's overall toxic load and inflammation.
Wow, okay. That's a really important detail. And it leads us right into heavy metals more broadly. What's the advice on minimizing exposure to things like mercury or lead?
Yeah, minimizing exposure is key. Choosing organic foods generally is a big step, as it reduces exposure to those environmental toxins we just mentioned.
And what about specific sources like fish? We hear a lot about mercury in fish.
Right. The recommendation is generally to avoid the large predatory fish because they accumulate more mercury over their lifespan. Think tuna, shark, swordfish.
So, what are safer choices?
Smaller fish are usually better. Things like anchovies, cod, mackerels, sole, hake, sardines. Plenty of good, nutritious options that are lower in mercury.
Good to know. It's not just what we eat, though, but what we drink. You mentioned water quality earlier. The research really emphasized this, didn't it?
Immensely. This is a factor that often gets overlooked. Certain contaminants, commonly found in tap water, can directly interfere with iodine function.
How? What are these contaminants?
We're talking mainly about fluoride, chlorine, and bromine. These are halogens, chemically similar to iodine, and they can actually block iodine receptors on the thyroid gland.
Wow. So they compete with iodine.
Essentially, yes. And they're not just in water treatment. They can turn up in other places too, like on fruit skins from pesticides, in some flours, baked goods, sodas, even sports drinks.
So they're quite widespread. How can we protect ourselves, especially with our drinking water?
Investing in a good quality water filter is probably the most effective step. A reverse osmosis system is often recommended for thorough removal. But even good filter pitchers can help reduce levels, though maybe not eliminate everything.
Okay, filtering is key. Any other hydration habits that came up?
Yeah, a couple interesting points. Aim for about 2 liters of water daily, which is standard advice. But try to drink it away from meals, and ideally at room temperature.
Room temperature. Why not cold water?
The thinking is that very cold water can kind of shock the system, potentially inhibiting metabolism and slowing down digestion. For someone with hypothyroidism, whose metabolism might already be sluggish, avoiding that is probably a good idea.
That's a subtle but potentially important detail. And you mentioned a specific morning ritual, too.
Yes, this was highlighted as highly recommended. Drinking a glass of warm water first thing in the morning before anything else.
What's the benefit of that?
It's thought to gently stimulate your entire hormonal axis, including the thyroid, kind of like a natural wake-up call for your endocrine system, helping to get metabolic processes going for the day.
Simple, but sounds effective. Any tips on preparing that warm water?
Yes, an important safety point. Heat cold tap water in a kettle or pot. Don't use hot water straight from the tap.
Why not?
Hot water sitting in pipes, especially older ones, can leach out more contaminants, including heavy metals like lead, from a plumbing itself. So always start with cold water and heat it.
Good tip. Okay, one last area. Intermittent fasting. It's super popular. What did the research say about its role in thyroid health? Is it helpful? Harmful?
It actually came up as potentially very positive, but with important caveats. When done right, it seems to offer a lot of benefits relevant to hypothyroidism.
Like what?
Well, it can help with weight management, which is often a struggle. It can improve digestive health, boost energy levels, support the immune system, aid detoxification, even enhance mental clarity, mood, and reduce stress hormones.
Wow, that's quite a list. So what's the catch, given what we know about stress and the thyroid?
Exactly. That's the crucial point. Fasting is a stressor on the body, and while beneficial, too much stress can potentially alter thyroid hormone levels negatively.
So aggressive fasting might be risky?
It could be. The strong recommendation from the sources we looked at is to stick to gentle, intermittent fasting patterns, like a 12-hour overnight fast, or maybe 14 hours at most.
So basically just ensuring a decent gap between dinner and breakfast.
Precisely. Maybe an earlier dinner and a slightly later breakfast. That way you can still get many of the benefits. The digestive rest, the cellular cleanup, potential metabolic improvements, without putting excessive stress on your thyroid. It's about finding that sustainable sweet spot.
Strategic, not extreme. Makes sense. Wow, okay. What an incredible deep dive this has been. We've covered so much ground.
We really have.
From specific foods and the whole iodine complexity to things like water filters, organic coffee, and even how warm water in the morning can help. It's amazing how many pieces there are to this puzzle.
It really shows that supporting your thyroid goes way beyond just taking a pill, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It feels really empowering, actually, to know there are so many things within your control.
Mm-hmm. This deep dive really reinforces that.
Mm.
A strategic approach to diet, Knowing what helps, what hinders, and why, being mindful about drinks, avoiding those hidden toxins, even gentle lifestyle tweaks like fasting,
Oh.
it all adds up.
It's not just random information. It helps you build a truly personalized plan, doesn't it? Tailored to your own body and situation.
Exactly. It's about understanding your body's interconnected systems and actively supporting them.
So ultimately, this journey, it's not just about managing hypothyroidism, is it? It feels more like learning how to work with your body, supporting its natural intelligence.
Well said.
Thinking about everything we've unpacked today, maybe just take a moment. What's one small change, one little tweak you could explore in your own routine this week? Something that might make a real difference to how you feel based on what we've discussed.
That's a great takeaway thought. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope this information proves helpful on your health journey.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. And if you found this useful, please do share it with anyone else you think might benefit from these insights. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the information that matters.